We're spending this Labor Day weekend on Long Island talking national politics with Congressman Tom Suozzi and local politics with a man who wants to unseat the Nassau County executive. The Point starts right now. Congressman Tom Suozzi is up first today, and we are going to start with a question that many people are asking, and that is, what's wrong with the Democratic Party, your party?
The brand is a mess. The Democratic brand is in trouble. If you poll the American people and you say, what are the issues you care about the most? They say the economy or affordability, immigration, taxes, crime, and health care. If you ask those same people, what do you think the Democrats are pushing? They say choice, LGBT protections, health care, a little bit of crossover there, saving democracy, and climate change. Now, those are all very important issues, but that's not the issues that people are talking about. They're talking about affordability. They're talking about immigration. They're talking about taxes. They're talking about crime. They're talking about health care.
But don't you think that you have a situation where most people look at the Democratic Party and the Democrats and they say tax and spend and we're tired of paying? So they want to know, what are you going to do to put money back in my pocket?
No, that's a very...
And they're not hearing you say that.
That's a very real concern. That's why I said the first issue is economy and affordability that people are concerned about. If they think you're just going to tax them all and make it more expensive for them, you're not going to serve their interest. And that's why I've been pushing, for example, the restoration of the state and local tax deduction. That was a body blow to the people of New York, done by the Republicans, remember.
But you did get most of it.
We got $40,000 back, which is not enough. We should have gotten more. I'm happy we did it. I give credit to the Republicans from New York and other places in the country, the very few of them that pushed to get this, and that was good that they did it. But we wish it was more. We wanted a full repeal. We wanted at least $80,000 like I had gotten through the House in the past. But that's an issue that...
Is there any chance that that could happen in the future?
Of course. We're going to keep on pushing.
We're looking at the 2026 congressional elections. You'd think that they would want to use that as an issue.
Well, there's no question that we're going to be pushing as Democrats, or certainly Tom Suozzi is going to be pushing, that we get the state and local tax deduction back again. So remember, it used to be for 100 years in America that you could deduct your property taxes and your state income taxes from your income so you wouldn't be taxed at the federal level on the taxes you already paid.
But see, here we are still talking about affordability and the fact that most people think that the Democrats don't stand for affordability. So what should you and your fellow Democrats be doing to convince people that you care about taxing them?
Democrats have to get back to and Republicans, quite frankly, America has to get back to a place, whether you're a left-wing liberal or a right-wing conservative, everybody in America should believe that if I'm willing to work hard, in return for working hard, I make enough money so that I can afford to buy a house, educate my children, pay for health insurance, and retire without being scared. And if you want to talk about all these other issues, you better figure out how to talk about the number one issue that people care about, and that's that I have enough money in my life so I can have a decent life.
So here's the real question. Who is the face of the Democratic Party today?
I think that the public perceives the face as being Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I don't think that that is the winning message for the Democratic Party.
But they're talking about putting money back in your pockets.
Well, I wrote an op-ed piece about Mamdani in New York City.
We're going to get to him.
And Trump, and I said that both of them did the same thing. They talked about people's economic anxiety. That's the reason they succeeded. Now, I disagree with Trump, which is wealthiest first, and I disagree with Mamdani in saying democratic socialism. I want to be clear. I'm a democratic capitalist, not a democratic socialist. And so, yes, it's the right issue to be talking about that Trump talked about, which is one of the reasons he won, that Mamdani talked about, which is one of the reasons he won. But everybody, certainly in my party, better get back to talking about the basics. How am I going to make enough money so I can live a decent life in America? But
your party is terrified of Zohran Mamdani and his message. Why is that if he's talking about the issues that you claim are the number one issues?
Because his diagnosis of the issue is proper, that people are economically insecure, but his solutions, socialism, raising taxes in New York City to force more people to leave New York City, more people to leave New York State, providing everything from the government, is not the right answer.
What's the right answer? The
right answer is to figure out how to reduce taxes in New York State, to get us the state and local tax deduction back.
But you have to get the state government to reduce taxes as well.
Yeah, we do.
So how are you going to do that?
Well, I ran for governor. I don't know if you remember. I ran for governor of New York State trying to run on an issue of reducing taxes. But I think that even Governor Hochul gets that. She understands that we need to make it more affordable in New York State.
If he wins, he's going to try to put pressure on her to raise taxes at a time when she's got to run for re-election. How is that going to work? Or is he going to be a failure at doing that?
I think that if he wins, and I'm hoping he doesn't win, if he wins, that's an opportunity for Governor Hochul to be very clear about what she stands for, that she stands for a more affordable New York State, a safer New York State. She supports the cops.
Here's what people buy into. They buy into taxing the rich. The people who are supporting Zohran Mamdani are saying, tax the rich, give the money to us. That's what they're saying.
The problem that exists with that is that we are not a country of our own. We are competing against other states in the United States of America. When I was born in 1962, I'm 63 years old. When I was born in 1962, New York State had 45 members of Congress. Today we have 26 members of Congress, and it's going to go because it's growing in Florida and Texas and other no-tax states. Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, they're growing while we're remaining stagnant or actually losing people. So we have to be competitive with the rest of the country. Now, why do we have high taxes? Well, because we have the lowest rate of uninsured children, the lowest rate of uninsured adults. Texas and Florida have the highest rates of uninsured children and uninsured adults. We support unions. They don't support unions. I support unions.
Back to the issue of tax and spend. Democrats tax and spend.
So we have to figure out how we can tax and spend responsibly in a way that makes people's lives better, which I believe in many instances it does, like supporting unions, for example, where people have a decent quality of life, and where people have health insurance, for example. But we have to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. That's not a Democratic message, a Republican message, going after waste, fraud, and abuse. I went after waste, fraud, and abuse when I was county executive, when I was mayor, and we're doing that in Congress as well. And the Republicans have just created the biggest deficit in the history of the United States of America. Now, that's not hyperbole. The biggest deficit, they just did this, what they call the big, beautiful bill. I call it the big, ugly bill. And there were some good things in there, but there were three bad things in there. Number one, they're providing tax cuts for some of the wealthiest Americans who really don't need it right now. They are cutting health insurance and food programs for some of the people who need it the most. And they're creating the biggest deficit in the history of America.
But see, here's the issue. All those things are true. However, they don't take effect until after November 2026, when people are going to have to vote on Congress.
Well, that's cynical politics. That's cynical, awful politics.
But let me ask you this question, though. Okay, so now you have Hakeem Jeffries. He's the House Minority Leader who'd love to be the head of the House.
And I think he should be. He's fantastic.
But let's ask this question. What does he do about Zohran Mamdani? Does he endorse him, or does that hurt him in trying to take control in 2026?
Listen, I have not talked to him about it recently. I don't think he should endorse Zohran Mamdani. I think it would be bad for the Democratic Party nationwide.
But President Trump wants him to be the nominee. He wants to run against him.
Of course President Trump wants that.
He wants to make him the face of the Democratic Party.
We are democratic capital. Capitalism has raised more people out of poverty than any other system in the history of the world.
But people are buying
It has created more innovation. And socialism has failed everywhere throughout the United States of America. Zohran Mamdani and other democratic socialists should create their own party, because I don't want that in my party. I believe in free enterprise. I believe in democracy. I believe in the democratic ideals. Do I think there's a problem with affordability? Absolutely there's a problem with affordability. We have to make things more affordable, but we have to also support the police. We have to reduce costs. We have to reduce taxes in New York State to make us more competitive with the rest of the country.
But some of the things you're talking about cost money, like supporting the cops. The cops in New York City are not paid anywhere near what they're being paid in Nassau County, where you represent.
Yeah.
So do you raise their salaries? And if you do, you have to raise taxes. How do you pay for it?
Yeah, right. So I'm not the mayor of New York City that can give you all the budget details of what's going on, but a very big part of this is a cultural thing, okay? We must support law enforcement. It's essential. I'm one of the few Democrats that was endorsed by the police unions in my last elections. Why? Because I've always supported the cops. You have to support the cops. Now, should we go after people that are acting inappropriately, that are discriminating against people because of their color? Yes, we should go after them. Should we focus more on people with drug, alcohol, and mental health problems and help them address their needs so their problems of drugs, alcohol, and mental health don't become the biggest problem in their lives? 75% of the people in jail have a drug, alcohol, and mental health problem. Should we address that? Yes. But at the same time, we must always support the law enforcement community because they're putting their lives on the line for us, and we need them, and we need them to be respected by us.
So that we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But next up, I'll be talking to the man who wants to unseat Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. Seth Koslow is a legislator in Nassau County who's challenging County Executive Bruce Blakeman. So here's the question. Why would you do a better job than Bruce Blakeman?
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. You know, I've lived in Nassau County my entire life. I grew up here with my family. I'm raising my family here, my wife and 3 young kids. And I've seen how wonderful it is to live here, work here, grow a family here. And now as a legislator, I get to see how the government's working. And part of the problem is we have a county executive who's refusing to spend our tax dollars wisely. He's just wasting all of our money.
Well, how is he wasting it?
Well, that's the thing. He's spending money on his private militia. He's spending money on outside legal firms to give them money to do work that our in-house counsel can do. He's spending money on rallies for President Trump, but not on our infrastructure. He's not spending money to bring in our to increase our police department.
Can you put a price tag on all of this?
As far as how much he's spending?
Yeah, how much do you think is wasted?
I mean, I can tell you right out of the gate, he's spent about $30 million on outside legal fees, above and beyond the $10 million we have.
But maybe he thinks you need to do that.
Well, historically, Nassau County has spent between $3 and $6 million on outside legal counsel. I don't see how it's such a difference under Bruce Blakeman. But at the end of the day, we have over $1 billion in money that we've borrowed for our infrastructure, for our first responders, for jobs that have to keep us safe, and he hasn't spent that money. It's just sitting there. So instead of spending money to actually make Nassau County safer and better and prepare for the future and for our infrastructure concerns and for our beach erosion issues, he's spending money on frivolous lawsuits for red light cameras that have been deemed illegal already. He's fighting that instead of actually trying to keep us safe and actually trying to make it more affordable in Nassau County.
So you would do what? What would be the first thing you would do if you got elected?
The first thing I would do is audit the entire county, find out where our money is actually going. We have buildings we're paying for that we're not using. We have departments that are being funded that aren't actually doing anything. We have county cars that are given to people. No one knows who's using them. Where is that money going? What about the red light cameras we're paying for the people who borrow county cars? Those are real dollars that can go back to the pockets of our people in our communities.
Well, I mean, one of the things you talk about, I've read your stuff on your campaign website, is you talk about wanting to reduce property taxes. Most people find that hard to do because there's so many things you want to spend money on to provide services for people. How would you provide the services, but at the same time cut property taxes?
So a big portion of the property taxes come from the state that we really can't control at the county level. Right. But what we can do is work with our partners in government in the state, which Bruce Blakeman refuses to do. But work with our partners in the federal and state governments to try and get us credits, try and reduce our taxes there, but also find the money we're wasting. It may not be a tax reduction, but if we cut down on the fees people are paying and the waste and all the money we're spending for nothing and give that back to people, it may not be a tax reduction, but money back in their pocket will make a difference.
How would you put money back in their pocket if it's not a tax reduction?
If we find all the money that's being wasted in Nassau County on these outside legal firms, on the buildings we're not using, the money we're spending that should be spent elsewhere, we can give it back as a credit. We can give it back as infrastructure repairs that saves people when their cars break down from hitting a pothole and they blow a tire. That's real money. So
let's talk about another interesting issue, which is the mascot controversy. How do you come down on that?
I think at the end of the day, it's not something that the federal government should get involved in, quite frankly. It's something that...
So you don't think Linda McMahon's suit is necessary?
I think we have a lot more to worry about from the federal government than what's happening in Massapequa. That's an issue that the Massapequa school and community should take care of and handle on their own.
Do you think that they should change their name from the Chiefs?
I don't think it's an issue that really needs to get this type of attention. I think it's taken out of context, and I think we've seen other groups of people that don't have an issue with it, that are not concerned with it, and I think it's a decision that the school board should make.
So would you support keeping the name as Bruce Blakeman does? He had a whole press conference about it, or would you say the name should be changed because it's offensive to Indians?
I think the reality is the community there should make a determination for themselves without outside pressure from anybody else, whether it's the county executive or Linda McMahon.
You're taking a pass on a big issue in Nassau County, because it's not just Massapequa. I mean, there are other places in Nassau County that have Indian names.
See, the beauty of Nassau County is we have
the Thunderbirds, for example.
Sure. We have so many municipalities in Nassau County and so many different types of government between our towns, our villages, our cities, and the county doesn't have to get involved in every single issue that affects individual municipalities. I represent Freeport, for example. If Freeport wants to make a decision that affects their schools or their police, the county doesn't have to step in. They have a right to do that for themselves. And unless it's going to make them safer or make it more affordable for them, that's what my priority is going to be as county executive, not to help them figure out their issues with respect to what they want their mascot to be.
So let's talk about this. One of the big things that's happened in the last week was the shooting in Minneapolis. And the response to that on the part of Mr. Blakeman was to establish with the police of Nassau County response groups that can go to every school on opening day and through the year to make sure that things are safe. If you were county executive, would you think that was a good use of police power?
Just to be clear, this was not in response to the shooting that happened in Minneapolis. This was already planned out, scheduled, and this was all set to go before the shooting happened. This was not in response to it.
But that's when he announced it.
The timing was impeccable for him, but it wasn't because of, he didn't announce it because of the shooting. It was already scheduled for that press conference.
Is it a good use of police power?
Look, if it's going to keep our children safe, absolutely. I have three young kids.
You would continue that?
If it's a good, I don't have specifics on what the plan is because he didn't invite the Democratic legislators to the event or give us information about it because he likes to kind of keep things to himself and not share with us. But if it's useful and a police department thinks it's beneficial to keep our kids safe, I have 3 kids in elementary school. I want my kids safe. I want their friends safe. So if it's going to keep them safe, we absolutely should be doing it. But we also should be working to educate our police department on red flag laws that we have in Nassau County. I've been trying to do that, and Bruce Blakeman put a stop to that.
When you talk about the red flag laws, what you're trying to say is that people who have mental issues should not be given guns.
Absolutely. There are people, some people have mental issues, whether it's a one-off and it happens because of something that sets them off.
So you're saying that the Nassau police aren't enforcing that, or that Bruce Blakeman isn't enforcing that?
If you look back historically, Suffolk County has had about 1,500 or 1,300 red flag orders signed off on by judges. Nassau County had about 30. So I've worked as a legislator to try and bring Moms Demand Action together with Nassau County Police Department.
You're a former prosecutor. How would you change that?
It's education. Our officers don't know what to do with it, and it's not their fault. They haven't been trained on it. That's something we can do with our colleagues in government, with Moms Demand Action, to educate them and tell them how it works and when to use them. And it's not, believe me, I support the police completely. They're fantastic. They're the best in the country, if not the best in the world, our Nassau County Police Department. But they don't know what they don't know. If we can educate them and prepare them for whatever is going to happen and give them the tools they need, we should be doing it.
So how do you feel about another proposal that Bruce Blakeman has done, which is to have armed volunteers that could respond to riots and other things?
So I misspoke before. The first thing I'm going to do when I take office is get rid of this ridiculous militia. It's unbelievable. There's no need for it. We have a fantastic police department. It's all a political stunt. It's not going to benefit anybody. There's no training involved. There's no chain of command involved. It's completely and utterly dangerous, disgusting, and terrifying that he thinks it's even worthwhile to do this. We don't know who these people are. We don't know what type of training they're getting. We don't know what else they're doing after they get their initial training. We don't know what their vetting process is. He gives vague answers about some of these people have military backgrounds. And what about the ones who don't? What is their background? We don't need to arm civilians and give them police powers that we are then responsible for if they do something wrong. If they shoot somebody while they're activated, it's on the county.
Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversations continue right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. Thank you for joining me. Carriage horses have always had a special place in my heart because it was one of the first dates with my late husband. They may be a part of New York City's history, but do they have a place in the present and the future? New Yorkers are weighing in on your point. Do horse-drawn carriages belong here in New York City?
No.
Not at all.
I'm not sure.
I have no opinion whatsoever.
I think so because it's like a antique.
They're historic, and I'm someone who loves the history.
That's a tough situation with me. The wife want me to ride, take her on there for 30 years, and I don't like it.
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be now a hazard.
It's bad for the horses. They're falling down, dying, the pollution, the noise. It's cruelty.
I think it's animal cruelty, and You know, you see the horses collapsing. It's really sad. It's inhumane.
It's a free city. I mean, anything can belong here.
I think they're a character of the city, and I think they're, something nice for tourists and locals, kind of a tradition.
If the horses are being treated well and safe as I understand them to be, then I love them. But I do understand that modern age is challenging.
Have you ever ridden in a horse-drawn carriage?
No.
Not in New York. I would never do that.
No, they're too expensive.
No, never.
Why not?
Because I live in New York City. I've been in New York for 30 years. It's just, it's for tourists.
It's kind of unaffordable, and I've got better things to do.
I have.
Did you like it?
I loved it. It was magical, and not being a native New Yorker, it was something that just, was just magic, something you dream of.
Yes, I have. I didn't like the smell.
You didn't like the smell?
But I don't think there's anything they could do with that, even with all this technology.
Should horse-drawn carriages stay or go?
I think they should stay.
I'm not in favor of them.
For the sake of the horses, they should go.
We have too many cars, people, noise pollution. It's cruelty, and they have no place here now.
You see them dying and collapsing in the street. It's absolutely horrific.
Horse-drawn carriages should go, but they should replace it with something that's a little bit unique and different.
What should replace them?
Bicycles.
I don't know. Maybe the guys that drive the little bicycles with the carts on the back of them.
We can do the pedicabs. People have a capacity to give permission, to give consent. Horses don't.
Automated car, someone he had, de Blasio, as I said, his one good idea in 8 years was, I believe it was him, to have these automated or old-fashioned cars that these guys could drive, and they'll still get the business from the tourists. You see it. I mean, tourists are paying $5 a minute to go on these pedicabs.